In the quiet seaside town of Carlsbad, California, a chilling tale unfolds that has haunted the community and intrigued true crime enthusiasts. This is the story of the unsolved murder of Jodine Sarin, a 39-year-old woman with a developmental disability whose life was brutally cut short on Valentine's Day, a day typically associated with love and affection, transforming it into a scene of horror. On February 14, 2007, Jodine's parents, seeking to check on her after unsuccessful attempts to contact her, entered her apartment only to stumble upon a scene straight out of a nightmare. They were met with the horrifying sight of their daughter engaged in what seemed to be an intimate act with an unidentified man. This man, in a calm demeanor that belied the gruesome reality, merely stated, "It's okay, I'm her boyfriend," before fleeing the scene, leaving Jodine's parents in a state of shock and confusion. It was only moments later, upon closer inspection, that they discovered the gruesome truth. Jodine was lifeless, a victim of a brutal murder that left the community reeling. The eerie circumstances surrounding Jodine's murder, especially its occurrence on Valentine's Day, add a macabre twist to the tragedy. The day meant to celebrate became a grotesque canvas for a heinous act, intertwining romance and horror in the most unsettling manner. The killer's calm demeanor and the audacity to claim he was her boyfriend while in the act of such violence adds a layer of psychological terror to the already gruesome scene. The investigation into Jodine's murder has been fraught with challenges and dead ends. Despite DNA evidence collected at the scene, authorities have been unable to match it to any known suspects in databases, leaving the identity of the killer shrouded in mystery. Over the years, various attempts to solve the case have been made, including revisiting old leads and utilizing advances in forensic technology to analyze the evidence. The use of genetic genealogy, a technique that has solved numerous cold cases, has been considered a beacon of hope in unraveling the mystery of Jodine's death. The case took a chilling turn when, in 2018, authorities reminded about this murder, releasing a composite sketch of the suspect based on DNA phenotyping, which predicts physical appearance from genetic material. The scariest fact is that the case is still unsolved and the killer remains at large. This is the grim tale of the Rundle family massacre, a brutal and enigmatic crime in the small, serene town of Brighton, Colorado, that remains shrouded in mystery and fear to this day. On the morning after Valentine's Day, a day when love is celebrated and cherished, the Rundle family home became the stage for a macabre tableau. Bruce and Deborah Rundle, along with their children Melissa and Bruce Jr., were found by their relative savagely murdered, their lives extinguished in an act of incomprehensible brutality. The investigation that followed revealed harrowing details that deepened the mystery. The family had been subjected to a prolonged and vicious attack, with evidence suggesting a level of personal animosity or a ritualistic element, given the overkill noted in the autopsy reports. The brutality inflicted upon the Rundles was not just an act of violence. It was a statement, a terrifying display meant to convey a message still undeciphered by law enforcement. As the community grappled with the shock and grief of losing one of their own in such a horrific manner, investigators scrambled to piece together the events leading up to the massacre. Despite exhaustive efforts, including interviews, forensic analysis, and the exploration of numerous theories, ranging from a botched robbery to a targeted hit, the case grew cold, leaving a haunting enigma at the heart of Brighton. Over the years, various attempts have been made to breathe new life into the investigation. Advances in DNA technology offered a glimmer of hope, with re-examination of evidence yielding new clues but no definitive answers. Theories abounded, from revenge plots to connections with other unsolved crimes in the area, but each avenue explored led only to more questions. a Valentine's Day shrouded in mystery and despair, the small town of Pahrump, Nevada, became the eerie backdrop for the unsettling and still unexplained disappearance of 41-year-old Maureen Fields. For unknown reasons, a day before her disappearance, she was in an anxious state, although she herself could not explain the reasons for this. To the questions of those who last saw her, she only answered, "Something bad is going to happen." The following day, Maureen vanished, leaving behind a trail of strange clue that would perplex investigators for years to come. Her vehicle was discovered abandoned in the desolate expanse of the Mojave Desert near Death Valley, an area known for its unforgiving landscape. The scene at the car was a tableau of horror. Her purse, a pair of pantyhose, and a blanket were found, with the latter two bearing the sinister marks of blood and vomit. The presence of an empty Xanax bottle, wiped clean of fingerprints, suggested a staged suicide, yet Maureen's body was nowhere to be found. The haunting absence of footprints or signs of struggle only deepened the mystery, casting a shadow of dread over the investigation. Attempts to piece together this chilling puzzle led to more questions than answers. The DNA found on the pantyhose did not match her husband, Paul Fields, who was a figure of suspicion in the community's whispered conversations. In a twist that seemed ripped from the pages of a Gothic novel, the DNA was later matched to Keith Wayne Holmes, an elderly, convicted sex offender. His claims of consensual encounter with Maureen before leaving her in the desert, coupled with his dementia-riddled state, only added layers of confusion and horror to the narrative. The stark contrast between the Valentine's Day Maureen's co-workers last saw her and the desolate scene where her belongings were found paints a terrifying picture of a love story gone awry. No one still can explain what happened that day and where Maureen Fields is now. On the morning of February 14, 1986, Stephen Gary, the head of the household, left for work, leaving behind his wife, Mary Lou, who was still nestled in the comfort of their bed in Houston. Little did he know, this ordinary departure would be the prelude to an unfathomable horror. Later that day, under the guise of concern, Stephen contacted Mary Lou's mother, urging her to check on Mary Lou, who was unresponsive to his calls. The unsettling silence from their home prompted a visit that would unveil a ghastly scene. Mary Lou Gary was lifeless. Her body, a silent testament to a brutal act, riddled with bullets from two different calibers, 38 and 22. The absence of forced entry or any signs of robbery added layers of enigma to the already grim puzzle. The chilling fact that this heinous act occurred on Valentine's Day casts a dark shadow, twisting the narrative into a grotesque version of a day meant for celebration. As investigations delved deeper, suspicion eerily circled back to Stephen Gary, despite his purported alibi. His pre-dawn departure on the day of the murder, under the pretext of errands, and his peculiar insistence on reminding witnesses of his presence at various locations painted a macabre picture of premeditation and deceit. The discovery of a substantial $400,000 life insurance policy on Mary Lou, with Stephen as the beneficiary, further muddied the waters, suggesting a possible motive cloaked in greed and betrayal. Attempts to unravel this complex web led to a convoluted path of legal battles and out-of-court settlements. Yet the core of the mystery remained untouched, shrouded in ambiguity. The sealed details of the settlement only added to the speculative fervor, leaving the public to grapple with haunting questions and the eerie absence of closure. On February 14, 1992, Billy Trimbach met a fate far removed from the romantic ideals associated with Valentine's Day. His body was discovered on the side of a desolate road of Stoneham, Colorado, a grim spectacle that sent shockwaves through the small community. As the investigation unfolded, it became evident that Billy's murder was no random act of violence, but a calculated execution. The eerie precision with which the murder was carried out hinted at a deeper, more personal motive, transforming the case into a complex puzzle that investigators were desperate to solve. One of the most haunting aspects of Billy's murder was the manner in which his life was taken. Evidence suggested a cold-bloodedness that was chilling to even the most seasoned detectives. The use of a firearm at close range indicated a level of intimacy between the murderer and the victim, suggesting that Billy's killer was someone he knew, someone who harbored a deep-seated animosity towards him. As Valentine's Day passed, the investigation into Billy's murder intensified. The authorities delved into his personal life, uncovering a web of relationships and resentments that might have led to his untimely demise. Rumors of marital discord, financial troubles, and contentious relationships within the family added layers of complexity, suggesting that Billy's murder might have been the culmination of a series of escalating tensions. One of the most chilling theories proposed was that Billy's murder was a contract killing orchestrated by someone close to him. The level of planning and the execution of the crime suggested a premeditated act, carried out with chilling efficiency. This theory cast a shadow over those in Billy's inner circle, turning friends and family members into potential suspects in a deadly game of trust and betrayal. Despite the tireless efforts of law enforcement, the case of Billy Trimback's murder remained shrouded in mystery. The lack of concrete evidence and the elusive nature of the killer turned the investigation into a haunting enigma. To this day, the murder of Billy Trimback remains an unsolved mystery. The tragic and harrowing tale of Nathan Leuthold, who brutally murdered his wife Denise on Valentine's Day in 2013, is another stark departure from the love and affection typically associated with the day. The murder unfolded in their Peoria, Illinois home, where Denise was found, shot in the head, a scene initially staged to look like a burglary gone wrong. Nathan's behavior immediately raised suspicions, from the inconsistencies in his account of his movements on the day of the murder to the discovery of foreign currency, safety deposit box keys, and passports in his car, suggesting a potential plan to flee the country. The investigation revealed a more sinister motive linked to an affair Nathan was having with Ina Dobilite, a young Lithuanian woman the Leutholds had sponsored for college in the United States. Evidence of Nathan's affair and his preferential treatment towards Ina, including frequent visits and financial support, contradicted his claims of innocence and pointed towards a calculated murder plan. Ina's admission of Nathan's visits and their shared bank account further implicated him, despite her denial of a romantic relationship. The discovery of a note written by Dennis on the day of her murder expressing her awareness of Nathan's infidelity and its toll on her painted a vivid picture of her suffering. The trial revealed chilling details, including testimony from a cellmate who claimed Nathan confessed to waiting in a closet to shoot Denise upon her return home. The jury, convinced by the overwhelming evidence and the heart-wrenching impact statements from Denise's family, found Nathan guilty in just 90 minutes, leading to his sentencing to 80 years in prison. The story of Amanda Michelle Naylor McClure is a harrowing tale of manipulation, murder, and an incestuous relationship that culminated in a series of gruesome events around Valentine's Day 2019. Amanda, alongside her father Larry McClure and sister Anna Marie Chuteri, was involved in the brutal murder of her boyfriend John Thomas McGuire in Skygusty, West Virginia. The ordeal began when McGuire was lured into a trust game, only to be attacked with a wine bottle he had brought to celebrate Valentine's Day. From February 14th, the assault escalated over 2 to 3 days, during which McGuire was tied up, injected with methamphetamine, and ultimately strangled to death. The family then buried his body, only to exhume, dismember, and rebury it days later in a shallow grave at the McClure residence. Amanda McClure's sentencing revealed the depths of the tragedy, with her apologizing to McGuire's family and expressing remorse for her actions, albeit attributing some of her actions to the influence of her father. Larry McClure, a registered sex offender, was depicted as the mastermind behind the murder, having orchestrated the crime from its inception. The case took an even darker turn when it was discovered that Amanda and her father Larry entered into an incestuous relationship shortly after the murder, culminating in their marriage in a neighboring county. This aspect of the case, along with the brutal nature of the murder, drew widespread attention and horror. Amanda was sentenced to 40 years in prison for her role in the murder, while Larry received a life sentence without the possibility of mercy. Anna Marie Chaudhary's involvement also led to charges of murder and conspiracy, highlighting the family's collective participation in the crime. The motivations behind the murder remain murky, with some indications that Larry McClure's possessive control over Amanda and her sister played a significant role. The impact of the crime on McGuire's family was profound, leaving them grappling with the loss and the horrific nature of his death. On Valentine's Day, Don Dixon Bay transformed it into a scene of horror in Jackson, Michigan. In a chilling twist of fate, Dixon Bay was convicted of the second-degree murder of her 49-year-old boyfriend, Gregory M. Stack, in their shared residence. The case, which unfolded in 2015, revealed a gruesome narrative that starkly contrasted the romantic essence of the day. Dixon Bay, who was 43 at the time of the incident, was sentenced to serve 35 to 70 years in prison for the cold-blooded murder. The grim details of the crime came to light as the prosecution unraveled the events leading to Stack's death. He was found stabbed to death in their home, with Dixon Bay being the prime suspect in the Hayhouse Act. The murder weapon, identified as a kitchen knife, was used by Dixon Bay to deliver 2 fatal stabs to Stack's chest, directly impacting his heart and resulting in his immediate death. Attempts to understand Dixon Bay's motivations revealed a complex interplay of emotions and possibly underlying issues within their relationship. However, the court found the evidence against Dixon Bay overwhelming, leading to her conviction and subsequent sentencing. The case of Don Dixon Bay serves as a haunting tale of how a day meant for celebration of love can turn into a macabre scene of violence and loss. It underscores the unpredictable nature of human emotions and the devastating consequences they can lead to when pushed to the extreme. China Vidler, last seen at a family gathering on Valentine's Day in 1993, vanished without a trace, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a family grappling with her inexplicable disappearance. As the day of celebration unfolded, China's attendance at the family party marked the last confirmed sighting of her, setting the stage for a haunting tale that continues to baffle both her loved ones and investigators. The subsequent disappearance of her husband, David, added another layer of mystery to the already perplexing case, deepening the enigma surrounding China's fate. The investigation into China's disappearance revealed a series of bewildering facts and circumstances that seemed to defy logical explanation. David, who was last seen approximately 2 months after China went missing, also vanished without leaving a trace, severing ties with his daughters from a previous marriage and disappearing into the ether as if he had never existed. Years later, the case took a bizarre turn when authorities tracked down Jeffrey Paston, a former occupant of the Vidlers' home in Southend. Paston's account of being asked by David to sell the house and deposit the proceeds into an account under an alias Anthony Peter Lewis added a perplexing twist to the already complex investigation. The discovery that a significant sum of money remained untouched in the account suggested a narrative fraught with unanswered questions and dark implications. The absence of concrete evidence or clear motives has left the case shrouded in speculation, with theories ranging from foul play to voluntary disappearance swirling in the void, left by China and David's absence. Attempts to unravel the truth behind China Vidler's disappearance have led investigators down various paths, each more confounding than the last. The lack of closure, the eerie circumstances surrounding the couple's vanishing, and the haunting possibility that answers may forever remain just out of reach contribute to the macabre tapestry of this Valentine's Day horror story. Subscribe for more scary videos and press the like button if you enjoyed.